time for a big tidy up here at Slimehouse HQ. For the last few months, things have been so non-stop for me. I've been out filming so many events, bringing stuff in and out of this room. I've been doing mech suit builds and dioramas and all sorts of messy crafting projects on tight deadlines, and everything's just been so full on that this room's got fully neglected. It's also been over a year since I did a room tour video, so I thought this would be a good excuse for me to give the whole room a good clean up and show you how the collection's changed in the last 12 months. I've been meaning to give it a spruce up in here for ages, but the amount of projects that I've had on and places that I've had to be at, it's been so relentless. So now that things have calmed down a little bit, I thought I'd treat this video as a bit of a spring clean of the room, and also me kind of hitting the reset button and letting you know about my plans for the rest of the year. Now, having a room like this is always constant maintenance. There's a lot of dusting involved, as you can see. There's always a lot of rejigging to be done whenever you pick something up new. I also have to keep sunlight out most of the time as well, because not only does it bleach plastic, but I do a lot of resin 3D printing in here, and if you know anything about that, you'll know how imperative it is that you keep your prints out of UV light. This space is also my working office, so I have to try and keep a nice balance of displaying my collection, but also not having things too cluttered so that you can't move without knocking something over, because my brain just doesn't work good in that messy environment. I also find it really hard to create if I feel like my workspace is closing in on me, which is hard when you've got this much stuff in one room. So yeah, that's something that I always definitely try and keep on top of as well. A lot of displaying things when you've got this much stuff is like playing Tetris. You move boxes around to try and find a nice composition that works well. You try and put stuff together in some kind of order. Again, trying not to make them look too cluttered and having things displayed on their own merit without them getting lost amongst all the other pieces on display. But obviously, that's easier said than done when you've got limited space, which for 99.9% of collectors is always the biggest issue: space. A lot of these toys that I'm cleaning up and arranging here are toy lines that I've almost got full lines of, and I'd love to be able to display them all together, all spaced out like a museum. For example, my $6 Million Man collection right now is epic. I've got almost every one loose and boxed, and Bionic Woman, because my dad gave me all of his old collection. But because I'm limited to space at the minute, I have to put the odd standout piece out and keep the rest safely packed away in storage until I've worked out a place somewhere else in the house that I can display them all. Now, these little carded toy racks that I've got these figures displayed on here are very handy. I just made them myself out of some old MDF offcuts that I had that I just sprayed black and then put in a bunch of hooks that I found in Wilko's. I love carded toys, but I always struggled with how to display them, so this was a nice option for me. I always love collections as well that look a bit like a toy shop, and these defo have that vibe, and having them all random like this makes it feel like an old discount store, which is where I got most of my new toys as a kid anyway, so it feels very familiar to me. You can also rotate them around when you do it like this and keep the display fresh, which is never a bad thing. And it also might not be the most collector-friendly way to display them. Them lot that love their toys graded and in immaculate protective cases and all that might turn their nose up at this kind of thing, but this is just the way that I like to do it. Okay, so for now at least, that's everything put back into some kind of order. There's still bits that need tinkering with and dusting that needs to be done, but that's always the same with any collection room. Ask Retro Ghetto, these rooms are never finished. There's always something else that needs to be done, but either way, this is in 1,000 times better shape than it was a few days ago. As I said, this is also the room that I do all my work in. It's not just a collection room, so in order for me to do my work successfully and be productive, it definitely helps when everything around me is nice and tidy and coordinated. Because I do so much stuff in here as well, I'm always having to move things around. Like one day I could be editing on my laptop, the next day I could be building a diorama and painting, And then a few days later I'll be filming toys with camera rigs and lights set up, and it's not the biggest room to work in, so you do have to think about your workflow constantly and keep on top of everything. And that's why sometimes when I've got multiple projects going on with very harsh deadlines, it can get a bit chaotic in here, which is again why it's really nice to get it all tidied up and hit that reset button. But as much as I can sometimes make it sound like it's a hindrance having all this stuff around me constantly, the pros defo outweigh the cons. When you work in the creative arts like I do, filmmaking and illustration and sculpting and all that kind of thing, having all this stuff around you means that you're never stuck for inspiration. I'm never not looking at a cool colour combination or a dope character design. I look at all these figures and I think, yeah man, someone designed that little dude. Someone sat and drew him up and sculpted him and painted him. Someone who's probably a bit like me. Someone who also probably had a bunch of stuff around his or her desk that inspired them to make cool stuff. And being a toy designer and a creative, it buzzes me out to think that maybe somewhere someone has something that I created in their office on their desk that inspired them to make something cool as well. This shelf here, for example, is full of toys that I've either worked on or that people have made and gifted to me, or just stuff that tells a cool story because I found it somewhere interesting or it reminds me of a good time or memory. That could be said though for so much stuff in this room. There's so many pieces in here that I had as a kid or were mine as a kid, or I've got a nice memory attached to them because I found them cheap at a car boot or because someone gifted them to me knowing that they'd have a good home in my collection. There's also so many pieces in here that you'll spot because you've seen them in Slimehouse videos, either when I've reviewed them or I've picked them up in Toy Hunt episodes. And when I look around this room, I see little parts of my life and memories, both good and bad, scattered around, represented by all these little rubber and plastic sculptures, and it can quite often be very much like a this is your life moment whenever I take a minute to stand back and take it all in. And this isn't even all of my collection. I've got loads in storage that, like I said, I just don't have room to display right now. Similar to the Steve Austin figures that I mentioned earlier, the Action Man collection that my dad's given me is enough to fill 10 of these cabinets. These are just a couple of standout ones that I like, the rest are stored away in stacker boxes, but just having them there safe, stored away, means that I can always get them out and shoot videos on them when I want to, because that's definitely something that I want to do more of in the future, and filming those documentaries and retrospectives like the Action Man ones that I did, or the Resident Evil one that I did recently, are honestly some of my favourite things to make on this channel. Now I do want to talk about the future of Slimehouse TV. It's definitely something that I'm going to delve into deeper in a different video, but as you can probably see, for the amount of different things that I've got going on in here and all the different stuff that I do, I've kind of outgrown this room. There's only so much you can do in one space, and moving forward with Slimehouse, I'm really wanting to get more into toy production. If you've seen any of my recent Sit Down All Figured Out episodes, you'll have seen me talk more about toy production, and I've bought all the stuff to do it, and right now I just don't have the space to be able to start making anything properly. So at some point in the next few weeks, months, I'm probably going to have to think about some kind of studio space. Now I do have a few ideas, and I'm not going to go into it all now, but I've spent so many years on this channel talking about other people's toys or designing other people's toys and ideas, and I really feel like it's time for me to start properly making and talking about my own stuff. Now I'm still going to be doing toy hunting and review episodes and all that kind of thing, none of that's going to change. They'll probably just be a lot less frequent, and it'll be more of the creative and crafty style video projects that you'll be seeing me make moving forward, which never seem to get as much traction on the channel as the toy hunts and stuff do, but it just is what it is. I think more time, if you're more likely to click on a video of me toy hunting than you are of me creating something, then it's probably safe to say that you're here more for the toys and the toy fair than you are for me personally. And that's cool, I get it, but I've spent a long time building this channel, and at the end of the day, it is my channel. So it definitely feels like it's time for me to start representing a lot more of what I do on it than what other people have made before me. You see, as much as I am a toy collector, obviously, my first love will always be art and creating my own things. And I want to be able to showcase a lot more of that stuff on the channel, so hopefully you'll stick around for those videos as well, because the toy making stuff that I've got planned, and the releases that I want to do, and the space that I want to create to make all this stuff and film those videos moving forward, really does have the potential to become some of the coolest Slimehouse projects that I've ever created. So now that I've got all my room nice and tidy and I've got an evening to myself, I'm going to kick back, paint some Warhammer and enjoy my nice clean office. One more thing that I did want to mention though before I wrap this up is this video here by Tony over at Analog Toys. So a few weeks ago, Tony messaged me to tell me about this GoFundMe that he'd put together to restore a bunch of old recovered Palitoy adverts, which is incredible, and I thought it was such a dope idea and I fully wanted to support it, and I planned on today's video actually being all about it, as there would still be a week before the campaign finished. But luckily for him, and everyone else, they hit the target early, which is awesome. So although I'm a bit late to the party in terms of directing people towards the Indiegogo project, I at least wanted to shout him out for doing such a cool thing. These commercials are going to be a great reference material for content creators like me in the future, and are also a huge part of toy history that would have been lost otherwise. So I wanted to say a massive big ups to Tony at Analog Toys. I'll put a link to his channel and to the Palitoy commercials down in the video description below as well, so that you can check them out, and also subscribe to his channel if you haven't already. So with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed this random video today. Room tour / video channel update / whatever else you want to call it. This was just all about me pressing that reset button after having so many hectic months of doing so much stuff, and just talking a little bit about my channel moving forward. Let me know if you saw anything on my shelves that you remember having as a kid, anything that sparked a little memory. I'd love to know what you think about my ideas for future projects and studio builds and all that kind of thing. As always, if you want to hit me up but you don't want to do it publicly down below, the best place to drop me a direct message is over on Instagram at Theo_Kane_Slimehouse. And if you want to help support this channel and help me make everything bigger and better than ever, help me with studio builds and all that kind of thing, then you can do that by joining Patreon at patreon.com/SlimehouseTV. There's lots of exclusive content on there, and there's a couple of tiers as well, so go and check it out and see if any of them suit you personally. As always, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody that does support me over on Patreon, the Slime Alliance, the Slime Renegades, Team Z, and just everybody else that's locked in and supporting. All the new subscribers. If you're new here, I'm Theo Kane, this is Slimehouse TV, we do videos every single week. So until that next video, I'm going to stop talking, I'm going to go and paint my Warhammer, I'm gone. Pow!